In this video, I'm going to show you how to raise and support this Honda Civic. I'll show you how to install your spare tire in case you unfortunately have a flat tire on the side of the road. I'll also show you where to place a floor jack in case you need to raise it to work on the vehicle, and where to put jack stands so you can safely support it. The jack stand locations will also apply if you're on a lift and want to put the lift arms under it. Having said that, if you need any parts, check us out at oneauto.com. Let's get started. Before we get started, you want to make sure your vehicle is in park on flat level ground with the handbrake set tight, key out of the ignition, and let's get into the trunk. Open up the trunk and remove anything that you might have in here so you can lift up the bottom carpet, which underneath you'll find the spare tire tools as well as the spare tire. Remove the jack from this holder as well as this hook and your tire iron. Now you can remove this styrofoam piece that holds all your tools. In the center of the spare tire, there will be a threaded rod that you have to unthread so we can actually remove this spare tire. Take this out and remove your spare tire. Just a quick note, you want to avoid putting these types of spare tires on the front of the vehicle on a steer tire because they have significantly less traction. Having said that, when you have a spare tire on the front, you want to put this on the rear. Take the rear, put it on the front where it's flat, and drive with this on the rear of the vehicle, which is what I'm going to show you how to do. Now you want to take your tire iron and break free the lug nuts while the vehicle's still on the ground so that it doesn't move back and forth on the jack and so that the wheel doesn't spin. If they're too tight, you can step on this carefully. There we go. Don't remove the lug nuts, just break them free. These are loose enough. I don't want to go any further so the wheel doesn't fall off. Let's lift the vehicle. Now grab the vehicle's jack and place it underneath the vehicle. If you look right here, you'll see that there's a notch on each corner of the vehicle in front of the rear wheel. And this also applies to the front. Right behind the front wheels, you'll see another one of those notches. That is where you're going to want to lift the vehicle with the jack. The jack has a notch on it, which goes right on here. Start raising it up. The handle of this jack is composed of this hook that goes around it and your tire iron that has a slot that hooks on to that hook. And now just spin this clockwise until you lift the tire off the ground slightly. The wheel's off the ground. So take this back off so we can finish removing our lug nuts. Finish removing the lug nuts. In our particular case, there's a hubcap that comes off once the lug nuts are removed. So take that off. Now remove the wheel. Now grab the spare tire. Carefully slide it on. Of course, no hubcap goes on this one. Install the lug nuts. Going to bottom them out so that the wheel doesn't move anymore. Snug them up as much as you can before you lower the vehicle. Just be careful that when you do this, you don't move the vehicle too much so it doesn't fall off the jack. We can snug them up once it's touching the ground, but you don't want this to kink at an angle once you put pressure on it if it's not snug. I'm also going in a cross pattern to hopefully seat the wheel nice and even. All right, let's lower the vehicle until this tire touches the ground just a little bit. I know the parking brake is set and this shouldn't spin, but you still want the weight of the vehicle on it, and then we'll finalize the tightness of these lug nuts. Lower the vehicle. The tire's touching the ground, so I'm going to stop and snug up my lug nuts a little bit more before I remove the jack. Put a little weight into these lug nuts now. Just be careful, of course. Also in a cross pattern. Give them about a quarter turn after they get bottomed out. That should be plenty tight, at least to get you to the nearest tire repair shop where you can have your tire fixed. As long as these are all even and tight, you're good to go. Now let's finish lowering the vehicle. Remove the jack. And there you go. At this point, if your flat tire was on the front, repeat the process to put the good rear tire on the bad front tire. If you need to raise the rear end of the vehicle to do some work, you're going to want to slide the floor jack right underneath the center right there, where you'll see that it's cut out for a floor jack. It's a flat piece of thick steel. That's the rear subframe, or the rear unibody. Once the wheels are several inches off the ground, if you need to go higher, go ahead, but the higher you go, the more of a risk it is for it to tip over on jack stands. Speaking of, let's put the jack stands on. Now to put the jack stands on, you would go in front of the rear wheels right here, where we put the vehicle's floor jack earlier. You put your jack stands right on the pin trail here, raise it up until it touches and then locks into one of the latches. Of course, do the same to both sides. Once your jack stands are in position, lower the vehicle down slowly. And now it is safely supported on jack stands. However, as an extra added safety layer, I like to leave the jack with a little bit of pressure underneath the rear subframe. Once you're done with your repair, raise up the rear end of the vehicle again so it can come off the jack stands. Pull the stands away and slowly lower the vehicle. In the front of the vehicle, roll the jack underneath, and you'll see that on the lower radiator support, there's a bump right here. That's where you want to put the jack. Carefully place it centered. Right there, and lift up the vehicle as far as you need to go. Take your jack stands, and just like in front of the rear wheels, behind the front wheels you have the same notches coming down from the pin trails where you want to put the jack stands. Make sure they're centered and raised up all the way. And of course, do the same on both sides. Now lower your jack so the vehicle can be on the stands. And just like in the rear, I like to leave the jack underneath for an extra layer of safety. Once you're done with your repair, lift up the vehicle so it can come off the jack stands. Remove the stands. And lower the vehicle back on the ground. If you're using a lift to raise and support the vehicle, you'd go right here on each corner, behind the front wheels and in front of the rear wheels, exactly where we put jack stands to safely raise and support the vehicle. I hope this video helped you out. If you have any tips, leave them down in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. Thanks for watching.